Hey guys, it's Shannon from That DIY Couple, and this is my friend Alex.
Hi!
You probably recognize her from our Impressions of Sweden video, but Alex lives in Europe and we occasionally get to travel together, kind of meeting in the middle somewhere.
Yeah. We thought Iceland was a perfect place between, I live in Amsterdam, and so it was perfect between New York and Europe, and so yeah.
We both got a cheap flight and we've just finished up a very quick whirlwind tour, 4 days here in Iceland with another friend, Betsy, and geez, we had a great time.
It was fantastic, really surprising, really worth coming here.
So I think we're gonna do just like a quick what we did here in Iceland and what were some of our impressions, keeping in mind that this was obviously like a whirlwind tour. You probably wouldn't get a great impression of the United States as a whole if you just went to like Times Square, right? The Empire State Building. We're gonna go through like just what we saw and what we thought, and we'd love to know if you guys think we got it right.
Yeah.
So Betsy and I, a lot of these American flights into Iceland get in really early in the morning, and so I guess there must be like a lot of just like, you know, tired Americans wandering the streets of Reykjavik sometimes. But when we first got in, I will say that the very first thing I noticed is like the airport is amazing.
It's incredible.
It's incredible. It's like a really lovely airport.
Yeah.
An airport is a country's handshake, and Reykjavik makes a great first impression. I've already been dazzled by their toilets, like 2-ply toilet paper Reykjavik. Bravo. Also, nice little private rooms and like crazy Dyson fixtures in the bathroom. Reykjavik, or Keflavik in particular. I'm impressed.
Really lovely airport.
Yeah, really modern. There's great food everywhere. It's just really well equipped.
Yeah.
There's also outlets everywhere, which is key.
And great signage, and just like enough people around to like tell you what to do. They've like figured out the welcoming you to Iceland through the tourism industry thing.
Impressed.
Reykjavik itself, like when I first got in, it was really drab and dreary out, and there was nobody on the street, which I think created a little bit of an impression of a ghost town. And
it was also what time in the morning?
It was early. It wasn't a fair time to be assessing the vibrance of a city. It was like 8 a.m. and like there was no one really around. But it was also a holiday when we got in. It was the first day of winter. So I'll say like my first impression of Reykjavik was like the architecture is a little bit drab, and like the houses all seem like prefabricated, and like it wasn't like a visually stunning city when we first got in and we're kind of driving and tooling around. But I was really happy to spend some time at the end of our trip and see more of the vibrance of the city. You were particularly noticing a lot of street art.
Yeah, it was incredible. Well, so I had a slightly different take on it because I got there a little bit later in the day and I wasn't as aggressively jet lagged as you guys were. I think that really made a difference. So it was like lunchtime. It was clearly a city, though. Yeah, I was surprised that it seemed like smaller and more modern than than what I was expecting from like other cities in Europe and Scandinavia. However, yeah, when we walked around, it was really cool to kind of see the little stores. There's lots of really interesting street art. People have like really kind of interesting vignettes and windows sometimes, which is cool to see. And it was a good place to like people watch and kind of just wander around. It's a tiny city, so you can wander around it quite easily.
Yeah, it felt really small.
Yeah.
I mean, and yeah, it felt very hipstery. It felt like some of the like cooler parts of Brooklyn and the United States. The architecture to me felt very like there was like a model, like the generic, like, you know, boxy type structure, and they love like the corrugated metals, and then the big windows, and then you would get inside and there was this sort of lovely like Scandinavian elements of design. Like I really liked the way that a lot of the stores had their wares laid out. Everything was just extremely pleasing once you entered the stores, but from outside it was very, I would describe it as functional, like functional architecture.
There were some parts of town which I think that you didn't get a chance to see. Betsy and I wandered around for a little while on our own, and there you got a little bit more, like a few more like older buildings, which was a nice contrast, but for the most part it's just like really hip.
It's very
like,
hip.
Like really hip design, like really, we had the fortune of staying in a couple like really cool hostels, which were just like really interesting takes on like the original architecture. One was a converted school, so they brought out elements of that. I noticed
Laugarden, this hostel was great. We really enjoyed it.
Yeah, really recommend it.
And then Kex the hostel Kex in Reykjavik was awesome. The design was really cool. It was very like they leaned in to like the bohemian design elements, and it was just beautifully done. It was a great design.
Yeah, it was really cool. But there were also like cool nods to like the history of the places. So you'd see in places you'd see like scatterings of like old pictures from like what the place originally would be. So there's always like a nod to tradition along with this like modern take.
And after we sort of quickly explored Reykjavik, and then we got on the road.
Well, I think one of the cool things was like we had timed it so that intentionally, and we knew that the girls coming from the States would be really tired. So we timed it so we'd start like the first leg of the Golden Circle.
So there's two big sort of paths in Iceland. You can do the ring road, which is a much longer trek that goes along the entire outside of the island.
Yeah, it takes 10 days.
And then you can do the Golden Circle. And you have the option of doing like excursions from Reykjavik on buses, but we decided to do the Golden Circle on our own by renting a car.
Yeah, so much more fun. You're not trapped in a bus with people. It doesn't stink.
Right.
You're with friends, and you can kind of go at your own pace and like just. So we timed it so we'd start like the first leg of the Golden Circle, but the scenery is just spectacular. Like it's kind of like being on the surface of the moon. There's this beautiful glowing moss. We were literally unable to drive for more than 5 minutes without stopping because everything was just new, like some new like little thing to explore off the path, like new photo ops, new everything. It was
really
spectacular.
Astounding.
Yeah.
It really was. And like being on the surface of the moon is a really good way of describing it. We just kept feeling like Iceland was this strange, sort of alien, beautiful planet that was totally different from anything I'd seen.
It's like black earth and this glowing green moss, and then the earth just like cracks open like this, and there's this one place where it's just like a rift between the continents, and it's so beautiful.
And it was sort of strange, leaving the city of Reykjavik and beginning our drive through the great wilderness in Iceland and just feeling sort of overwhelmed by the spectacular beauty of the earth. Like, and the longer you spent in it, the more overwhelming it was, because any one of those particular sites would have been so astounding in the United States if like I would have pulled over and taken a picture there. But in like after driving for like an hour and everything was more insane than the last, you start to feel like, oh, like
another beautiful thing.
Your threshold goes up for what you think is pretty.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like everything I could have explored for a whole day and just gone like on a hike around it or something like that. And I'm excited to come back and like explore it in more depth. But like, yeah, it was almost like, it was so exhilaratingly beautiful that it was almost exhausting. Like
it was hard to take it all in.
I almost got, there's like this thing called Stendhal syndrome that people get in Florence because Florence, because it's just like they're overwhelmed by all the beauty of the art. And I felt like a similar thing here of just like being overwhelmed by all the beauty of the nature. It was really, really, really special.
It was almost too hard to process. Like I would go home in the end of the day, sort of be and look at my pictures and be like, whoa, again, that's spectacular. I kept on seeing these like casual waterfalls. You'd just be driving and then all of a sudden like, oh, there's another one.
Like 7 in a row.
Yeah.
It was really amazing.
And the terrain was so varied as we kept driving. So we went to a we went to like a little hot springs in Laugarden that was near the Fontana, that was near the hostel, and it was really fun. It was like these thermal baths. It definitely changed the color of our jewelry temporarily.
Yes, temporarily. Everything was
freaked out. But and it was awesome. It was like warm water, very mineral rich. And then we actually, Alex and I, and a little bit Betsy, but we took this hilarious dive. We'll cut to I'm good! What do I do? What did happen? Oh shit! We're having so much fun! We took this dive into the water, and it was hilarious and freezing.
It's worth it, but it's so cold. But it's so good for you. Good for the circulation, good for the skin, good for everything.
And I felt amazing afterwards. Like it was shocking and overwhelming in the moment that we dove into this glacial water, but then like for the next couple hours, it felt really good.
Oh, it was amazing. Yeah.
Very refreshed.
Absolutely recommend.
Let's see what else we got. Then the next day, we got on the road again, and we sort of continued through the Golden Circle, right?
Yeah. So we hit up first to Geyser. So Geyser itself does not. It's obviously it's called Geyser with an I in it, and it erupts only after major earthquakes or volcanic eruptions. So thankfully it wasn't erupting then. But there's one next to it called like Strogar, or something like that. That
They're good with the
erupts.
And the names.
I just like Vikings. It erupts every 7 to 10 minutes, so we were able to see that a couple times, and it was really impressive.
It was cool. Yeah, I get so excited every time it happened.
Yeah. Then after that, we went to a massive waterfall that was just Gullfoss, which is like up the road from that.
Oh man, Gullfoss was beautiful. Yeah.
It just spreads out in front of you. You can walk down next to it. It's really huge and really panoramic and beautiful.
Yeah. It was awesome. And what next? We saw another waterfall.
Yeah, then we circled around. This way, we were coming down, then we were going up to Vik. So we passed Skagafoss,
which was spectacular as well. One tip is to try, when you do rent the car, make sure you buy the insurance through the car rental place and not online, because we got here and we felt a little jerked around because we were told that even though we had purchased car rental insurance through WOW, which is our airline that sold it to us, we were unable to, we were going to have to give them a deposit of $3,500 US if we didn't buy their insurance in the moment. So that there were certain things about like the experience of customer service here that were sort of shocking to us coming from the United States. Like that would be so incredibly illegal in the US as a coercive measure to get you to.
I think because in Europe we have more budget airlines and they tend, you get used to their sneaky practices.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't surprised when you guys told me about it, but yeah, definitely just make sure that the actual company, just try not to rent things through budget airlines because they tend to gouge you as much as possible.
Right, definitely great to get here. Like we got incredibly cheap tickets. It's very cheap to get to Iceland through WOW, but it was a bad way to start our trip because we felt like really screwed. And then it was strange, like when we actually got into the car. We're in the rental car now, but there were so many things that were wrong with it. It had like this enormous dent and like cracks in the windshield, and like the window was totally busted, and the entire time that we were driving it told us to be changing the oil, which they were like, don't worry about it, we just changed it. Then we noticed there's like a sticker on the front indicating that it was well overdue for an oil change. We kept getting alerts being like the anti-collision thing has gone off, and those things
stop.
Those things were so shocking because we're in like such an affluent country that is so expensive and appears to be so rich, that it felt a little bit almost like something I've experienced when traveling in the developing world.
Yeah, it was a really strange contrast between it being a modern country and just that. But otherwise the service tended to be good. Everything was like incredibly expensive, as everyone knows, but like the people were friendly, but the car really was disappointing.
Yeah, and who knows if that's a one-off thing or something that's more representative of something as a whole, but to me it was like, I wonder if the reason that everything is broken is because it's so expensive to fix it as well, or it's hard. I'm sure it's hard to get things to this island, including like parts, and I'm sure that labor is very expensive and taxes and things like that. So yeah, it was just interesting reflections. I mean, the prices of everything, I was expecting it to be expensive when I got here, and it was shocking.
Just like stupid expensive. Like I think I bought like the equivalent of like $4 bottles of water from a gas station.
Krona bills, y'all.
Yeah, it was, things were just dumb. Yeah. But you can definitely eat on the cheap. We had a couple of meals where we just got like pickings from supermarkets.
Yeah.
We made sure to always get the breakfast at the hostels because that way we had, it was expensive, but that way we'd always have like
between $17 and $20 for the breakfast, but then you could like basically fill up.
Like a solid meal.
And the food was good.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah. Especially like the fresh breads we really enjoyed. Good. Yeah.
And a lot of the hostels have like special jams that are with like local berries and stuff that you don't have the opportunity to taste in other places in the world. So
one thing I'll note is that it is incredibly easy to eat a vegan diet in Iceland. It has to be the most vegan friendly place I've ever visited. Everywhere it indicated this can be vegan or this can be gluten free. There was places that were totally dedicated vegetarian, vegan restaurants. Everything noted on the venue.
I noticed in a lot of places too, they instantly asked you like, tell us about any allergies. It seems like they're very accommodating and very aware.
Yeah, so shockingly so. So it was healthy eating was definitely possible. I think that like when I looked around, I was sort of expecting, I said this in the Sweden video too, but I was expecting like this sort of like Scandinavian prototype of human beings who were like tall and blonde and thin. And interestingly, in Sweden, I had found that it was way more diverse than I expected, which I love. In Iceland, I would say people looked like what I would expect a Viking to look like. It seemed to be like a very homogenous, and there seemed to be two prototypes. There was either like the extremely svelte, thin,
insanely beautiful.
Everyone
is insanely beautiful here,
but like blonde, and then they, like some of them even seemed to like bleach their hair blonde on top of that. Like the very like typical looking, what I would assume Scandinavian people look like. And then there was like the large and rotund and like chubby cheeks and like jolly looking, also tall and blonde.
Tiny little nose and freckles.
So many freckles. It seemed like everybody had freckles.
Lots of red hair too, I noticed.
Yeah,
like
lots of red hair.
Really intensely red hair.
But it did not feel to be a diverse place, with the exception of the tourists. It felt like there was kind of like a cookie cutter mold.
I noticed that there was in Reykjavik. I noticed that there was an immigrant population working in restaurants and stores. So there is diversity here, but like not as much as
outside of Reykjavik. Yeah, it was fantastic. I mean, we finished up by going the last day to Vik.
Yeah, so we ended up at Vik, and the road from the Golden Circle to Vik is just spectacular. It's one waterfall after another. If you have like a little bit more time to explore, you can go to the Westman Islands. Sadly, we were not there during puffin season.
Yeah,
which is very
no puffins for us. No puffins for Betsy, who really wanted to see them.
It was very sad. So we went to Vik. We passed. There are many other places to explore. If you have an extra day, you can go beyond Vik and explore I think it's the Skagafoss forest. I might be making that up, but it's something like that, which is supposed to be just astoundingly beautiful. Right. But it's a hiking thing, and Shannon hurt her knee, so
unfortunately we couldn't do that.
And then
it's good to leave something for next time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then we came back to Reykjavik, had a night there, and then went to the Blue Lagoon this morning.
Yeah. I mean, it was, all in all, I would say it was a spectacular trip.
My God,
it was so devastatingly beautiful at every turn. It was really expensive.
Yeah.
We got very cheap flights to get here, which is how they get you. That's how they get you here. And so, I mean, maybe it evens out compared to like other trips, but like, I would come back. I think traveling, we have to save money, travel in a group because then everything is cheaper. Stay in the hostels. The hostels were very expensive. A hostel that we stayed in Vik cost us, we had 3 people, and it was like about $300 to get like a private room. We were originally going to be 4, otherwise we probably would have stayed
in a dorm
room, but we thought we would have 4. But $300 for like a hotel room in the US that you could split would be like a spectacular hotel room, and here it was like literally the dreariest.
Yeah, just like a youth hostel.
Yeah, but even like a bad one, right? Like
like not one that you would expect in such a modern country.
You would expect it to be maybe $20 anywhere else in Europe.
But our other ones were quite good. Again, like Huts in Reykjavik is amazing. It's expensive but amazing. The one in Laurgervatn is great. Incredible and so beautiful and really recommended.
Absolutely.
But
I would say the weather was like, it was surprisingly good for us, but like it was supposed to rain the entire time we were here. It rains tremendously apparently all the time in Iceland, and so take that into consideration.
Bring layers, bring rain. I forgot to bring a raincoat, so don't do that. I spent €200 on a raincoat, which I'm not happy about. But bring layers, bring fleeces, bring raincoats, because it changes every 3 seconds, and you really want that protection against the wind and the rain.
Right, and don't count on it if your Google is telling you it's going to be one temperature. It could be completely the opposite.
But it's spectacular. I'm basically already planning my next trip back. It was really special.
Yeah, I would love to come back. Money and time permitting, but it's definitely worth a trip. We really enjoyed it. Unfortunately, we did not get a chance to really interact for a long period of time with many Icelandic people. So I would love to come back and have a more authentic cultural exchange and get to know the culture and the people a lot more. I will say that like people went out of their way to be nice to us. It's a country that seems to really appreciate tourism and to be friendly, and I appreciated that.
One last note, the country is very protective of its natural reserves. They are, they're basically what their tourist industry is based on, and so they take the preservation of them very seriously. Really important that you follow the rules and really understand that they're trying to keep the ecosystem alive and really keep this marvelous nature alive. so just respect and love this beautiful country so it can be preserved.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I would say that this is a good time of year to go, right before the tourist season. It's, you know, the middle of April right now, and it has been not super crowded. But I think if we were to come back in the middle of summer and it was like the Blue Lagoon was like great because it wasn't super crowded, but you know, Betsy has been here in August and it was packed and had a very different experience. It's a country that's like figured out the tourism industry and the infrastructure is great, the roads are great, you know, you can see where they're spending the money in terms of their high taxes. But so
basically come here, love it, respect it, and come back.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks, Alex. I can't wait to see you in the next Euro trip or somewhere. We'll meet somewhere else in the world. Guys, if you liked this video, please like it and please subscribe. It really helps out the channel. And if you have questions, if you have comments, if you had a different experience, if you feel like we got something wrong or judged something unfairly, please comment and engage with us down below. Until next time, thanks guys. Bye. Iceland, so